Ladies and gentlemen, life is not fair, but it is always honest. The world will not give you what you wish for, it will give you what you fight for. And in this fight, the most important weapon is not your money, not your background, not your degree. It is your mind. If your mind is weak, one rejection can destroy your confidence. One failure can end your journey. One piece of criticism can break your heart. But if your mind is strong, no rejection can stop you, no failure can define you, and no criticism can silence you. That is why today I want to share with you a very simple truth. Toughen your mind, or the world will break it. When we talk about success, people usually love to hear stories of glory, achievement, and celebration. But the truth is, before anyone reaches the top, they must first face rejection again and again. Rejection is not an accident in life, it is a routine. It is something every person will experience, no matter how smart they are, how talented they are, or how much they believe they are ready. The problem is, most people cannot handle rejection. The first time someone says no, they lose confidence. The second time someone says, "You are not good enough," they feel defeated. The third time someone closes the door on them, they stop trying. This is why so many dreams die early, not because the dream was impossible, but because the person could not accept rejection as part of the process. Think about it. When you were a child, you applied for schools. Some accepted you, some did not. When you grew older, you applied for jobs. Some called you back. Some never even looked at your application. In business, you will pitch an idea and most people will laugh or ignore it. In relationships, not everyone will love you the way you love them. Life is a long series of doors, and many of those doors will remain closed. But here is the key: rejection is not a wall, it is a mirror. When someone rejects you, they are not ending your journey. They are showing you where you must grow, what you must learn, and how strong you must become. The problem is, most people treat rejection like a personal attack instead of a training session. Imagine if every no you hear was actually practice for the day you finally hear yayas. Every rejection becomes like a weight in the gym. The more you lift it, the stronger you get. If you only face easy acceptance, your mind becomes weak and you never develop resilience. But when you hear no 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, and still keep moving, then rejection becomes your teacher, not your enemy. I remember once speaking to a young man who told me, "I applied for 3 jobs and all 3 rejected me. I think I am not meant for success." I laughed and told him, 3 rejections. That is nothing. Try 30. Try 300. Then come back and tell me if rejection is the problem, or if maybe you simply stopped too early. Rejection is not the end. It is just life asking you, are you serious? Do you really want this? Are you willing to pay the price? You see, many people are rejected once and they immediately quit. They say, maybe it's not for me. But the people who succeed are not the ones who never face rejection. They are the ones who get rejected more times than anyone else and still refuse to quit. They keep knocking on doors even when those doors keep closing. They keep believing in their vision even when nobody else does. Rejections are not a sign you are weak. They are a test to see if you are strong. They are life's way of filtering out those who only wish for success from those who are truly committed to it. If every dream came true on the first try, everyone would be successful. But because rejection exists, only those who are tough enough, patient enough, and resilient enough get to the other side. Most people are afraid of failure. The very word makes them nervous. From the time we are children, we are told that failure is something to avoid. In school, failing means you are not smart enough. At work, failure means you are not capable enough. In society, failure means you are not worthy enough. So naturally, we grow up believing that failure is an enemy. But the truth is very different. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your best teacher. Think about when you first learned to walk. As a baby, you stood up, you fell down. You tried again, you fell again. Nobody looked at a baby and said, "You failed too many times, stop trying to walk." No. Every fall was teaching you balance Every stumble was teaching you strength, and every mistake was guiding you toward success. Without those failures, you would never learn to walk. The same is true in every stage of life. Failure shows you the truth in a way success never can. Success makes you feel good, but it teaches you very little. When you succeed, you don't question yourself, you don't reflect, you don't improve. You simply celebrate. But when you fail, you stop. You ask, what went wrong? What could I do better? What did I miss? That reflection, that analysis, that humility, this is what creates growth. When I speak to young people, they often tell me, I am afraid to start a business because I might fail. I tell them, if you fail, that is the best MBA you will ever earn, because failure in the real world teaches you things no textbook can. It teaches you about people, about money, about timing, about patience, about persistence. It teaches you about yourself, how you handle pressure, how you deal with loss, and how you find the courage to stand up again. One of the biggest mistakes people make is running away from failure. They avoid risks, they avoid challenges, and they avoid opportunities simply because they are afraid of failing. But by avoiding failure, they are also avoiding success. You cannot separate the two. They are like twins. If you want success, you must accept failure as part of the package. Look at any successful person in history, in business, in science, in art, or in sports. Every single one of them has failed more times than you can imagine. The difference is they did not stop at failure. They used failure as fuel. They treated every mistake as a lesson, every loss as a step forward. That is why failure is the best teacher. It gives you real, practical lessons that you can never forget. I remember once being asked, what was the biggest mistake you made in business? My answer was simple, too many to count. But I added, without those mistakes, I would not be standing here today. People only see the big successes, the final achievements, the headlines. What they don't see are the hundreds of failures that built the foundation for that success. Failure also teaches you humility. When everything is going well, you may start to believe you are unstoppable. But failure reminds you that you are human, that you still have much to learn, and that you must respect the process. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you hungry. And it keeps you growing. The world will forgive you for failing, but it will not forgive you for giving up. Failure is temporary. Giving up is permanent. If you fail 10 times but learn 10 lessons, you are 10 steps closer to success. But if you avoid failure completely, you remain stuck in the same place with no growth, no strength, and no wisdom. One of the most difficult things for people to accept is criticism. Nobody likes to be told they are wrong. Nobody enjoys hearing that they are not good enough, and nobody feels comfortable when others point out their flaws. The natural reaction to criticism is anger, defensiveness, or even silence. But the truth is criticism is not something to fear or hate. Criticism is free advice, and if you know how to use it, it becomes one of the most valuable gifts life can give you. When people criticize you, they are actually doing you a favor. They are giving you feedback without charging you a single coin. If you went to a consultant, you would have to pay thousands of dollars for the same thing. But in life, people will happily criticize you for free. The only question is whether you have the strength to listen and the wisdom to learn. Of course, not all criticism is useful. Some people criticize because they are jealous. Some people criticize because they want to bring you down. Some people criticize because they simply don't understand your vision. But even in useless criticism, there is still something to learn. You can learn how others see you. You can learn what weaknesses they think you have. You can learn how to explain yourself better, how to defend your idea with more clarity, and how to build resilience against negativity. I remember when we were starting out, people said, "This idea will never work." Others said, "You are wasting your time." Some even laughed and told us, "You don't understand business, you don't understand technology." At first, those words hurt. Nobody enjoys being told they are foolish. But slowly, I began to realize that criticism was not my enemy. Every negative comment gave me something to think about. Sometimes it showed me a weakness I really needed to fix. Sometimes it reminded me to work harder to prove them wrong. And sometimes it simply taught me to grow a thicker skin. The problem is too many people take criticism personally. They let one negative opinion destroy their confidence. They hear one hurtful comment and immediately begin to doubt themselves. They forget that criticism is just one person's opinion, not the final truth. If someone says, "You can't do it," that does not mean you cannot do it. It only means they cannot see how you will do it. In fact, the stronger your vision, the more criticism you will face. If your dream is small, nobody will bother to criticize you. But if your dream is big, people will always question you, attack you, and laugh at you. That is not a sign you are wrong. It is a sign you are onto something important. People criticize what they cannot understand, and they doubt what they cannot imagine. Criticism also trains your mind to separate emotions from logic. At first, you may feel angry when someone criticizes you. But over time, if you keep listening, you will learn how to filter the emotion out and focus on the message. You will ask yourself, is there something useful in what this person said? Is there a lesson here I can apply? This mindset turns criticism from poison into medicine. You cannot grow without feedback, and criticism is the rawest form of feedback. Sometimes it is harsh, sometimes it is unfair, sometimes it is even cruel. But if you learn to take the lesson from it, you will always come out stronger. Every leader, every entrepreneur, every successful person in history has been criticized. They were told their ideas were foolish, their plans were impossible, and their dreams were unrealistic. But they took the criticism, filtered it, and used it as fuel to keep going. If you look at a diamond, you see beauty, brilliance, and value. But before it became a diamond, it was nothing more than a piece of carbon, dark, ordinary, and invisible. What transformed that piece of carbon into something the world treasures was not comfort, was not luxury, and was not luck. It was pressure, enormous, crushing, relentless pressure over a long period of time. Without that pressure, carbon would remain carbon. With it, carbon becomes a diamond. Life works in the same way. When we face pressure, most of us see it as suffering. We complain, we feel stressed, and we wonder why life is so difficult. But what we forget is that pressure is not here to break us. It is here to shape us. Just like carbon cannot become a diamond without pressure, a person cannot reach their full potential without challenges that test their limits. Think about any period in your life when you truly grew as a person. Was it during the easy times, when everything went smoothly, when you had no worries? Or was it during the tough times, when you had to fight, when you had to survive, when you had to carry responsibilities that felt too heavy? Growth never comes from comfort. Growth comes from pressure. When I meet young people, they often tell me they feel overwhelmed. Pressure from exams, pressure from parents, pressure from jobs, pressure from society. They see this pressure as a curse. But I tell them, don't run away from it. This pressure is making you stronger. Every late night you spend working, every problem that keeps you awake, every responsibility that weighs on your shoulders is actually building your resilience. Without it, you would never toughen your mind, never sharpen your skills, and never prepare yourself for bigger challenges ahead. Pressure also reveals character. When things are easy, everyone looks confident. Everyone seems capable. But the moment pressure comes, you see who truly has courage and who does not. Pressure separates the ones who only talk about success from the ones who are willing to endure the pain required to achieve it. Just like fire tests gold, pressure tests people. It shows you what you are made of. In business, the same truth applies. The market is pressure. Competition is pressure. Customers are pressure. Every day, you are being squeezed, challenged, and questioned. But if you learn to embrace it instead of fearing it, pressure becomes your best trainer. It forces you to innovate, it forces you to move faster, and it forces you to improve. Without pressure, businesses become lazy. With pressure, they grow sharp and efficient. The secret is not to pray for less pressure, but to build the strength to handle more. If your mind can only handle small stress, you will remain small. But if your mind learns to carry big stress, you can achieve big success. It is like lifting weights in the gym at first. The weight feels impossible, but with repetition, your muscles adapt, and soon what once felt unbearable becomes easy. Pressure works the same way on the mind. The more you endure, the stronger you become. Many people avoid pressure because they want an easy life. But an easy life produces weak people. Strong people are created in difficult environments. Just as the seed must push through soil and darkness to see the sunlight, you too must push through pressure to see your potential. If you avoid every challenge, you stay ordinary. But if you embrace the challenge, you create something extraordinary within yourself. Strength is not something you are born with. It is not a gift from nature, and it is not a lucky accident. Real strength, the kind that allows you to survive failures, handle pressure, and keep going when others quit, comes from discipline. Discipline is the daily training of your mind and body. It is the decision to do what is necessary even when you don't feel like it. Without discipline, you may have talent, intelligence, or even opportunity, but you will not have the strength to use them to their fullest. When people admire athletes, soldiers, or entrepreneurs, they often see only the results, the victory, the achievement, the success. But behind those results is a long history of discipline. Athletes wake up before sunrise to train while others are still sleeping. Soldiers follow strict routines that prepare them for the toughest conditions. Entrepreneurs work for years, sacrificing comfort and leisure to build something from nothing. All of this is discipline. Discipline is not glamorous. It is often boring, repetitive, and difficult. It means saying no to distractions, no to excuses, and no to comfort. It means choosing the harder path every single day. But this is exactly why it builds strength. Comfort does not challenge you. Excuses do not help you grow. Only discipline forces you to push past your limits, and every time you push, you add another layer of strength to your character. One of the biggest problems today is that people want results without discipline. They want success without sacrifice, fitness without training, wealth without work. But life does not operate that way. If you avoid discipline, life will discipline you. If you do not train yourself, the world will break you at the first sign of difficulty. Discipline is like building armor around your mind. It protects you from weakness, laziness, and fear. Think about the simple habits in your daily life. Waking up early, reading consistently, saving money, exercising regularly, staying focused on your goals. These are not dramatic actions. They are small, consistent practices. But over time, they build incredible strength. The person who practices discipline every day becomes unstoppable because they are not controlled by moods, temptations, or emotions. They can keep moving forward no matter what happens. I once spoke to a young person who said, "I want to be successful, but I find it hard to stay motivated." I told him, "Forget motivation, build discipline." Motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel inspired, some days you feel tired. If you rely only on motivation, you will never achieve consistency. But if you rely on discipline, you will act even when motivation disappears. That is the difference between dreamers and achievers. Discipline also builds confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove that you can be trusted. If you say you will wake up at 6 a.m. and you do it, you feel stronger. If you say you will finish your work today and you actually finish it, your self-respect grows. Slowly, you stop doubting yourself because you have trained yourself to follow through. This confidence is not fake, it is earned through discipline. In business, discipline separates companies that survive from those that collapse. A disciplined company manages resources carefully, stays focused on its vision, and continues to improve even when things are going well. An undisciplined company wastes money, chases every trend, and falls apart at the first crisis. The same principle applies to individuals. Discipline builds the strength to endure, adapt, and thrive, while lack of discipline leaves you weak and unprepared. In life, one of the most common words you will hear is no. No, you are not qualified. No, you are not ready. No, your idea will not work. No, you cannot join us. No, we don't believe in you. For many people, this word is like a hammer that smashes their confidence. The moment they hear no, they stop trying. They believe the world has closed its doors on them. But the truth is, no is not the end. Learning to handle no is one of the most important skills you can develop, because if you cannot accept rejection, the world will crush you before you even begin. When you first hear no, it feels personal. You think it means you are not good enough. But in reality, no often has nothing to do with you. Sometimes people say no because they are afraid. Sometimes they say no because they do not understand. Sometimes they say no simply because it is easier than saying lies. If you quit every time you hear no, you are letting other people's fear, doubt, or laziness decide your future. Think about every successful person you admire. Behind their achievements are countless no's. Writers whose books were rejected by publishers again and again. Inventors whose ideas were dismissed as crazy. Entrepreneurs who were turned down by investors dozens of times. The difference between them and the ones who gave up is simple. They refused to let no define them. They treated it as a temporary obstacle, not a permanent judgment. When you learn to handle no, you begin to see it differently. Instead of feeling defeated, you become curious. You ask, why not? What can I improve? What can I change? Suddenly, no becomes feedback, a chance to grow sharper and stronger. Each rejection becomes a training session for persistence. And the more no's you endure, the closer you get to the yes that matters. I once met a young man who said, I applied to 5 companies and all of them rejected me. I think I'm not meant for success. I laughed and told him, 5. That's nothing. Some people are rejected 50 times, 100 times, and they still don't stop. The number of no's you hear is not a measurement of your worth. It is a measurement of how serious you are about your dream. If you stop at 5, maybe you never wanted it enough. If you keep going after 50, then you are proving your commitment. The world does not reward those who stop at the first no. It rewards those who keep knocking on doors until one finally opens. And often, the door that opens is much bigger than the ones that closed. But you will never discover it if you quit too early. Handling no is about resilience, patience, and faith in your own path, even when others cannot see it. The ability to hear no without losing heart also makes you fearless. When you are no longer afraid of rejection, you start to take bolder actions. You apply for opportunities others are too scared to try. You pitch ideas that others think are too risky. You ask questions others are too shy to ask. Because the worst that can happen is another no, and you already know how to handle it. That freedom gives you power. In business and in life, the word no is like a test. It asks you, how badly do you want this? How much are you willing to endure? Most people fail the test because they stop trying after the first rejection. But those who pass the test are the ones who keep moving forward, no matter how many times they are told no. In today's world, everyone wants things fast. Fast money, fast success, fast recognition. We live in a culture of shortcuts where people believe that if something takes too long, it is not worth it. But the truth is, anything truly valuable in life takes time. A tree does not grow in one day. A relationship is not built in 1 week. A career is not made in 1 month. Success takes years of hard work, sacrifice, and waiting. That is why patience is not weakness. Patience is power. Patience gives you the ability to stay calm when others panic. It allows you to keep moving when progress seems slow. It gives you the strength to wait for the right opportunity instead of rushing into the wrong one. Most people lose not because they lack talent or resources, but because they lack patience. They quit too soon. They dig for gold but stop 3 feet before striking it. They plant a seed but walk away before it has time to grow. I often tell young people, your 20s are for learning, not for earning. Many do not like this advice because they want results immediately. They want a high salary, a big house, a luxurious life all at once. But what they don't understand is that patience in your 20s builds the foundation for success in your 30s and 40s. If you chase only quick rewards, you sacrifice long-term strength. Patience teaches you to invest time in growth rather than wasting energy on instant gratification. Think about nature. Bamboo is a powerful plant, but when you plant it, nothing seems to happen for years. For a long time, it looks like the seed is dead. But underground, the roots are growing deep, spreading wide, preparing for the future. Then suddenly, one day it shoots up and grows several feet in a short time. That is how patience works. The world may not see your effort, but if you keep working, keep learning, and keep believing, one day all the hidden effort will rise above the surface. Patience also helps you make better decisions. When you are impatient, you act out of fear or greed. You jump into things without thinking. You take shortcuts that cost you more later. But when you are patient, you have the clarity to wait for the right timing, the right partners, the right opportunity. Many failures are not caused by lack of opportunity, but by rushing into the wrong opportunity. In business, patience separates the companies that last from those that burn out. Many entrepreneurs want quick profit, so they sacrifice quality, values, or long-term vision. But patient entrepreneurs build slowly, focusing on customer trust, product improvement, and sustainable growth. It may take longer, but the results are stronger and more lasting. Patience also builds emotional strength. Life is full of delays, disappointments, and difficulties. If you lack patience, every small obstacle will frustrate you, every slow moment will break your spirit. But if you have patience, you understand that delays are not denials. They are simply part of the process. You don't give up when things take time because you know that all good things require waiting. The truth is, patience is not passive. It is not about sitting still and doing nothing. Real patience is active. It means you keep working, you keep improving, you keep preparing, even when results are not immediate. It is the discipline to keep planting seeds every day, even when the harvest is far away. This quiet persistence is more powerful than bursts of energy that disappear quickly. When people say patience is boring, I say impatience is dangerous. Impatience makes you quit too early, trust too easily, or chase shortcuts that destroy your progress. Patience gives you control over your emotions, over your decisions, and over your destiny. Human beings are emotional by nature. We feel happiness, sadness, anger, excitement, fear, and doubt. Emotions make us human, but they can also make us weak. The truth is, many people do not fail because of lack of intelligence or lack of opportunity. They fail because they cannot control their emotions. Anger makes them say the wrong words. Fear makes them miss the right opportunities. Doubt makes them give up too soon. Jealousy makes them waste energy competing with others instead of improving themselves. If you cannot manage your emotions will manage you, and they can destroy your future. When you are angry, you may make decisions in 1 second that you regret for years. An employee loses his job because he shouts at his boss. A leader destroys trust because he reacts emotionally instead of thinking clearly. A person ruins a relationship because they let their frustration speak louder than their love. Anger feels powerful in the moment, but it always leaves behind damage that cannot be repaired easily. Fear is another emotion that quietly destroys dreams. Many people never start their journey because they are afraid to fail, afraid of what others will say, afraid of losing security. Fear makes you overthink, and while you are stuck thinking, the opportunity passes. Fear convinces you to stay safe, but in reality, it keeps you small. You will never know your true potential if you let fear control your decisions. Doubt is even more dangerous because it does not come from others, it comes from within. The world can believe in you, but if you doubt yourself, you will still fail. Doubt whispers, you are not good enough. And if you listen to it, you stop trying. Many people give up not because they actually failed, but because their doubt killed their confidence before they even gave themselves a chance. Then there is jealousy. Instead of focusing on their own growth, some people waste time comparing themselves to others. They see someone else succeed and feel bitterness instead of inspiration. They forget that everyone's journey is different. Jealousy poisons the mind, blinds you from your own opportunities, and steals your energy. A jealous mind cannot be creative, cannot be productive, and cannot find peace. Emotions are natural, but they must be managed. Just like fire can warm your home or burn it down, emotions can guide you or destroy you. The key is learning how to control them instead of letting them control you. Successful people feel the same emotions as everyone else. They get angry, they feel fear, they doubt themselves, they experience jealousy. But the difference is they do not act based on these emotions. They pause, they reflect, and they choose a response that serves their future. Control over emotions also gives you strength in leadership. A leader who panics during crisis spreads fear to everyone else. A leader who gets angry easily creates a toxic environment. But a leader who stays calm under pressure inspires trust. People follow those who can keep their emotions steady when the storm is strong. Learning to manage emotions does not mean you stop feeling. It means you do not let feelings make your decisions for you. It means when anger comes, you take a breath and respond with clarity. When fear appears, you still take action. When doubt whispers, you answer with discipline. When jealousy rises, you turn it into motivation to improve yourself. This balance between feeling and control is what builds a strong mind that cannot be easily destroyed by emotions. Change is the only constant in life. The world never stops moving. Technology changes, markets change, people change, opportunities change. If you are not ready to adapt, you will be left behind. Many people fail not because they lack intelligence or hard work, but because they refuse to change. They keep doing the same thing, thinking the world will adjust to them. But the world does not wait. It rewards those who are flexible, who can learn, unlearn, and relearn when the situation demands it. Think about how quickly technology has transformed our lives. 10 years ago, many businesses believed they did not need the internet. Today, if you don't understand digital platforms, you are invisible. Tomorrow, artificial intelligence will reshape industries, and those who adapt will thrive, while those who resist will disappear. Change does not ask for your permission. It simply arrives. Your choice is whether to fight it or to flow with it. Adaptation is not about losing who you are. It is about adjusting your methods while keeping your vision. A tree that refuses to bend during a storm breaks, but a tree that bends survives. In the same way, if you are rigid with your ideas, your strategies, or your habits, the storm of change will crush you. But if you remain open, flexible, and willing to shift, you will survive and even grow stronger. One of the biggest mistakes people make is getting too comfortable. They say, "This way worked yesterday, so it will work tomorrow." But yesterday's success can become today's trap. Comfort makes you blind to new opportunities and resistant to new realities. Change feels uncomfortable because it pushes you into the unknown, but growth never happens in comfort zones. Adaptation requires courage to leave behind what is familiar in order to embrace what is necessary. History gives us many examples. Great companies that once dominated their industries collapsed because they refused to change. They ignored new technologies, new customer needs, and new business models. On the other hand, companies that were small but flexible rose to greatness because they saw change as an opportunity instead of a threat. The same principle applies to individuals. A person who constantly learns, upgrades skills, and accepts new ways of thinking will always find a way forward. Adaptation also demands humility. You must be willing to admit that what you know today may not be enough tomorrow. Pride prevents people from adapting. They say, "I already know this, I don't need to change." But the truth is, no matter how successful you are, the world will keep moving. Humility keeps you a student of life, always curious, always willing to learn, always ready to evolve. Embracing change also requires resilience. Change is not always smooth. Sometimes it brings failure, setbacks, and uncertainty. But if you treat every change as a teacher, even difficulties become valuable lessons. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" How can I use this to grow? That mindset transforms change from an enemy into an ally. Change is also the test of leadership. A true leader guides people through change, not away from it. When others are afraid, a leader helps them see possibilities. When others cling to the old, a leader shows them the benefits of the new. Adaptability in leadership is not just about strategy. It is about creating belief in the future, even when the present feels uncertain. Every generation faces its own unique changes. Some are technological, some are cultural, some are personal. But the principle never changes. Those who adapt survive, and those who resist fade away. Your ability to adapt will decide whether you grow with the world or whether the world leaves you behind. Life will test you again and again. It will throw failures, rejections, disappointments, and pain in your path. Most people think success comes to those who are the smartest or the most talented. But in reality, success comes to those who simply refuse to give up. A weak mind quits when things get difficult. A strong mind continues even when the journey feels impossible. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is often just one word: perseverance. When you look at successful people, you will see one common pattern. They have failed more than others, but they did not stop. Every time they fell, they stood up. Every time they were told no, they tried again. They turned rejection into motivation and failure into learning. Success is not about never falling. It is about never staying down. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls hundreds of times. But the child never says, maybe walking is not for me. The child gets up and tries again until one day walking becomes natural. Somewhere along the way, as adults, we forget this lesson. We fall once or twice and we give up. We tell ourselves it's too hard, it's not meant for us, or maybe we are not capable. But if a child gave up so easily, none of us would even know how to walk. Quitting is always easier than continuing. When you quit, you escape pain for the moment, but you also escape growth. When you continue, you endure pain, but you also build strength. The world respects those who keep going when others stop. That persistence creates a story that inspires, a journey that others admire, and results that only come to those who endure. Never giving up does not mean being stubborn without direction. It means being committed to your vision, even if you need to change your strategy. The road may not be straight. You may need to take detours. You may need to slow down. You may even need to start over. But as long as you keep moving toward your dream, you are not giving up. Flexibility in action with persistence in vision. That is the true meaning of perseverance. Every rejection you face is a filter. It removes those who are not serious and strengthens those who are. Every failure you experience is preparation, teaching you lessons no book can give. Every hardship you endure is shaping your character, toughening your mind, and preparing you for the success that is waiting ahead. If you quit, you lose everything you've worked for. If you continue, you increase the chance of victory with every step. People often give up too soon because they cannot see progress. They work hard, but results come slowly. But slow progress is still progress. Imagine digging a well. At first, you dig and see nothing but dirt. You may dig for weeks and still no water. Many quit at this point. But if you dig just a little longer, suddenly water flows. The problem is not that success doesn't exist. It's that most people stop digging before they reach it. In life, there will always be voices that tell you to stop. Some will say you are wasting your time. Others will say you are not capable. Even your own mind will whisper doubts when things get tough. But perseverance means you keep going despite the noise. You trust the process, you trust your effort, and you trust that consistency will eventually bring results. The truth is, the moment you decide not to give up, you already win half the battle. The world can throw storms at you, but if you keep walking, the storm will pass. Opportunities can disappear, but if you keep preparing, new ones will arrive. People may reject you, but if you keep believing, the right people will accept you. Never giving up is not just an action. It is a mindset that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. In conclusion, life will never stop testing you. It will push you, reject you, and sometimes make you feel like you are not enough. But remember, the world is not against you. It is simply training you. Every rejection, every failure, every criticism, every change is part of the process of building a stronger mind. If your mind is weak, you will break at the first sign of difficulty. But if your mind is strong, nothing can stop you. A strong mind is not built in comfort, but in challenges. It comes from learning to accept rejection, using failure as a teacher, turning criticism into improvement, and embracing change instead of fearing it. It comes from patience, discipline, emotional control, and the courage to hear no without losing hope. And above all, it comes from never giving up, no matter how many times you fall. The world belongs to those who refuse to let it break them. So toughen your mind, sharpen your spirit, and face every storm with courage. Because in the end, the people who succeed are not the ones who had it easy, but the ones who stayed strong when everything was hard.